I've got a real looker of a watch on the channel today, and when I say a real looker, this thing here is really nice to look at. If you recognize some of the styling of this watch, this is actually from a micro brand called Horizon, and this is their second watch. I reviewed their first watch a while back. It was called the Nautilus. It was an Art Deco looking watch. I liked it. It wasn't without its flaws. It had quite a few flaws on it. Real thin handset, thick profile, case finishing wasn't the best. And what Fred, the owner, has done, they've come and created their new watch, and this is called the Pilgrim. You see, their first watch, the Nautilus, was inspired by the novel of Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And this one, the Pilgrim, is once again inspired by a Jules Verne novel, A Captain at 15. And the reason it takes inspiration, if you look at the case back, that's the name of the ship, the Pilgrim. And you know what? I really like what they've done with this watch. The quality, the finishing, the detail, the functionality has improved tenfold. So in that department, well done. Now we're going to talk about this watch today. What I have in the hand is a prototype, and you saw the pop-up. Horizon has sponsored this video. However, as normal, any supplier of any watch, any product has zero input into the review content. So I'm going to tell you honestly what I think of this watch, good, bad or indifferent. And being a prototype, there's a couple of flaws, but overall I'm quite impressed with what this company's done, because just to give you a backstory, Fred actually contacted me months and months and months ago, last year, and he asked me for his advice. He said, Pete, what do you think of the watch, the new design, this Pilgrim? And I looked at the design and I said, mate, well done, seriously, but, and there's always a but, I said, mate, I think you can improve it by doing this, this and this. And I mentioned, why don't you add some minute markers? Because the original design didn't have minute markers. It was clean, and I thought, it looks great, but functionality wise, it's not a functional tool. And what Fred did, he went away, he listened, and he came back to me, he goes, what do you think of it now? And you know what, I take my hat off. When an owner of a company, a micro brand like this, listens, and I'm not talking about just me specific, I'm talking about constructive criticism. When they listen and they take heed, that shows me the mark of somebody who actually cares in making something good even better, and that's what we've got here. Now let me run you through the specs of this watch and I'll tell you how it's available. What I measure is a case diameter of 41mm with a case height of exactly 12.6mm. The lug to lug is 47 and a lug width of 22. Now both crowns are screw down, they are 6.9mm, and the watch offers 200 meters of water resistance. And the total weight on this FKM rubber strap comes in at exactly 112 grams. Now the overhead shows that the watch is sitting extremely comfortably. As you can see, a 47mm lug to lug, not a problem. The height, 12.6mm, again, not an issue. And as you can see, you can probably see it in there, number 000. This is a prototype. So you might see a couple of scratches or flaws, that's quite normal. The FKM rubber strap on this is phenomenal. It tapers from 22mm all the way down to 16.5. That clasp, that tang buckle is signed, very nice hardware. So I'm really enjoying what this guy has done. He's actually stepped up his quality, but he's also made some really nice finesse changes in the design of this watch. I must admit, the watch does look superb. Now I spoke briefly about that case back featuring the Pilgrim, the ship from the Jules Verne novel, A Captain at 15. And behind that solid case back, we have a Sellita SW200, beating at 28,800 vibrations per hour, about 38 hours power reserve, hacking, hand winding, a very nice tried and tested Swiss movement. Now if I turn my attention to the dial, some people have noticed, some people might not have. You can see you've got a 12, 3, 6 and 9 pronounced markers, but the 3 o'clock marker is not actually a marker, it's actually a date. And if you look closely at that, the design has integrated the date to look like a marker, the same shape as the other ones, and it's also loomed. So really well thought out and really well placed. Now the watch also features a rotating internal bezel. It's a bi-directional, so it goes both ways. We'll unscrew that crown, there's a healthy pop, and as you can see, the crown has moved. There's no resistance, it moves freely, and wherever you place it, that marker will stop. So as soon as I press this down, you can see I can move left and right, nothing happens, but as soon as it's released, you can see that it moves freely. So if we place this at that minute mark, screw it down, it locks in, you've got 200 meters of water resistance, and that thing's not going to move. That minute hand's going to continue moving forward. You can see the elapsed time. Now the bottom crown at the 4, or should I say roughly 4 o'clock, that's roughly at 2, that's roughly at 4. If you've got OCD, you're going to struggle with that. It hasn't bothered me so far, but just letting you know, that 4 o'clock crown adjusts all the functionality of the watch. Being a Sellita, you got hacking, hand winding, screw down, not an issue. Now if I turn my attention to the sapphire crystal, you got a boxed sapphire crystal with blue anti-reflective coating. Now for those who've been following me for a while, you probably already know that I'm not a big fan of blue AR, but I've got to say on this watch, for some reason it seems to be working nice. It's adding a little bit of character. It's not overtaking the dial seems clean, but the hint of blue right at the edge of that boxed sapphire really does add some depth to this dial, which is a welcome addition. Now I believe the watch is going to come in 3 different variants. This one here is a dark ocean. They also have a blue and a green. Just from the renders, one thing I do like is the tonality of the colors. Now speaking about the lume, 2 of those models will have C3 Superluminova and 1 of them will have BGW9. And looking at the lume shot on this particular watch, the handset, the markers, fantastic. The bezel, initially very nice, but it doesn't last as long as the rest of the dial. There's about a 10-minute duration where you can see that bezel and then it starts to fade off. Now before I get onto the negatives and positives of this watch, the watch is going to be available on Kickstarter on the 23rd of Feb. I believe it's going to come in at an introductory price of $559 US. Now if there's any changes to those details, I'll leave it in the description of this video. As I'm getting this watch early, and by the time this review goes live, there could potentially be some small tweaks. Now what are the positives and negatives of this watch? And the first cab off the rank for me is that lume. On that bezel, the rotating inner bezel, it would have been nice. You know what, forget the actual markers, the 30, the 15 and so forth, they're not too bad, but the actual triangle, the 12 o'clock inverted triangle, it would have been nice if that was doubly lumed. Just a lot stronger, maybe even a lot bigger, so it can distinguish from the rest of that bezel to show you where it is, because the rest of the lume on the watch is very nicely done. Another negative, the date at the 3 o'clock, although it is beautifully integrated, very nicely framed, it can become a little bit difficult to read because of the nature of the shape of that date window. In double digits, the first digit is hard to read. But in saying that, I really like the fact that they've integrated it into an actual marker. It looks good, it is lumed, bravo. Now moving on to the positives of the watch. Well, I think the design is lovely. I think the watch looks superb. They've done really well. It's a finesse, really nicely finished watch. The fact that it comes in at $559 with a Sellita, the FKM rubber strap feels premium, not only on the wrist but in the hand as well. I think the attention to detail on this watch, I really like their first watch, the Nautilus, the Art Deco one. I think they've stepped this one up in quality, in size, even that side profile. This one comes in at 12.6mm to the top of that box sapphire, extremely wearable. From memory, the original one that they had was a lot thicker, closer to 14.5. This one here is substantially thinner. Touching on the last positive of this watch, there is a bracelet option that they're working on. Really keen to look at that. Like I said, I've got this watch early. By the time this goes live, there'll be pictures available on their website. At the moment, I don't have any information on it, but looking forward to seeing what sort of bracelet they're going to design for this. This is the Horizon Pilgrim, a very nicely designed watch. A couple of little small flaws, especially that lume, I think could be rectified. For that price point, the finishing I really cannot fault. The design elements are nice. The legibility has been great, the wearability has been great. Happy to get watches like this on the channel. They really inspire me because there's micro brands that are doing something with some character, with some finesse, through some inspiration. It's just a joy to have them in the hand and use them. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think of this watch. I've enjoyed it, but more so, very happy to see the owner actually listening and making changes for the benefit of the wearer. Thanks again for watching, guys. Happy New Year, happy holidays. Stay well, and we'll see you all in the next video.